On this episode, how do you evaluate the good and bad after competition, Mike?
Yeah, I think today you'll hopefully can do a little reflection on trying to balance shooting for the stars, but also some of the small wins and enjoying those small wins along the way. And I think any person with the mindset of wanting to be great toggles between that and struggles with that, and I know I'm in that space right now.
Troway.
Yeah, this is a good episode to figure out where you want to fall between being the happy-go-lucky and the super strict guy. You have to find that balance in order to be super successful and enjoy what you do.
You know, a ton of great knowledge in this episode. I mean, other than Treadway taking a famous Tupac lyric and falsely attributing it to Lil Wayne, other than that, there's a lot of good stuff in there.
I can't add anything. Let's go to the show. Coaches Clinic podcast. I'm your boy Corey G. Our coaching staff: Mike Deegan, Tyler Treadway, Dustin Myers. We're back. We're gonna start right here, Coach. We came down, me and Treadway, watched the games. You guys were hosting the tournament. The vibe around the stadium was unbelievable. It was Monday. Yeah. The amount of people that was out to come support you guys on a Monday, and just like, I don't know, you should be proud. I know we're gonna get some other parts of it, but you should be proud of, I think, how everyone supported what was going on and the vibe around your team. So I just want to show love, man. It was fun to watch.
Appreciate it. Yeah, it was. See, anything's always a little bittersweet,
Yeah.
But I think I reflect back to when we took the job. It was the first time my wife ever looked at me crazy. We were at the field, and the field looked like the grass was high. It didn't look like much of an atmosphere. And then to go from that to where 10 years later, kids are lined up signing autographs.
Yeah.
And, it's like a party out there in a big game playing the defending national champs. Like, it was kind of a surreal moment to go, wow, this happened. But then there's also the agony of defeat, right?
Yeah.
And so anyways, just run the gamut of emotions from anger to joy to sad, all those things.
Yeah, it was cool. I think this is a good spot to start, though, is like, and I'm going to throw it to you, D, is like once you go through some type of competition, right, you build up for it. You had your guys are maxing out this last week. I've seen in the gym. It's like when you come off of that kind of crescendo, how do you then evaluate it went good, it went bad? Do you beat yourself up? Do you look at you know what I mean? Like, how do you evaluate? Like, I'm sure I saw some of your kids do good, and maybe all of them did good, but let's say there's a couple that didn't get what they wanted, or you didn't get and beat the people you wanted. Like, how do you evaluate, or what's your process?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing I try to stress to my kids in the weight room is, even though we put so much importance on the numbers, like, all right, this is the week we're to max out. We've been building up for this for 12 weeks. But they got to remember, it's really just one day in the weight room.
Yeah, facts.
And hopefully they have a good day, and according to what we've done, if we've, followed the programming right, and if they've, ate how I've told them to eat, they get enough sleep, and they do all these things, then in theory they should have a good day, but that's not always the case. So I try to stress to them, like, the kids that have a great day, like, good, that shows, kind of the results of their hard work. The guys who didn't hit the number they wanted to hit, I tell them, hey, look, I mean, today might not have just been your day. You've been gunning for 315 this whole time. It doesn't necessarily mean that you can't deadlift 315 because you didn't do it right
just
at that
couldn't
second.
today.
You couldn't today, exactly. And maybe it was a mental thing, or maybe just, the preparation on their part for that day, maybe wasn't all the way there. And, when my guys walked in on Monday and, they started warming up, it was almost kind of like the atmosphere was kind of loose because they're excited. School's almost out. They're maxed out today. I looked at it, I said, you guys should walk in here on a mission today. Like you want to come in and hit this number, and you're in here kind of like dicking around. Like, think about your mindset. Like, you got to walk in like really excited.
Yeah,
But so the big thing I try to stress to them too after the fact is that, like, number one, if it goes really well, also know it was just one day. It doesn't mean that we've made it.
Yeah.
Don't pat yourself on the back too long. There's still more work to do.
Sure.
And if it wasn't your day, it doesn't necessarily, it's not an indictment on the process. It maybe was just not your day.
Yeah. Well, and I know this from pitching, having a high school pitcher, like sometimes the ball's spinning, sometimes it's not, right, Coach? So it's like, it is a day-to-day thing. So it's like you come off a big win, and then you go and you have to battle a top team twice in a row. It's like, and obviously Kenny Littman showed up big, right? Littman, unbelievable. So it's like, what's your message to the guys after, and then what's your message to yourself now that you can kind of decompress a little bit?
Yeah, I think you're catching me fresh. 'Cause to be honest, I'm still in it. It's like
I know you are.
It's like a little bit, like I said, it's like a little bit of a blur. But
You're vulnerable right
yeah,
now,
you're
but I think
vulnerable.
that's
yeah.
We're gonna get the good sound
Yeah,
bites out of
no.
today.
Yeah, you get the real.
Selfishly, I'm trying to get somebody to
yeah,
coach.
you get the real. No, I think it's you do toggle between these things. Like like for us, we won our conference regular season outright. We won our tournament, hosted our first regional ever. Right?
Yeah, there's win.
So there's all these positives, and then when you get to this stage when the expectations are high, what's really hard is there's only one team in the country that feels great when it's all said and done.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because when you're, so I just wrote our guys an email. Actually, I'm crafting it right now. I haven't sent it 'cause I need to reread it, but I listed all those accomplishments because as your program gets better, you almost can gloss over those things.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You can almost go, oh,
Take it for granted.
Take it for granted, and I don't want them to do that. Like when we
Love
won
that.
our regular season title, we didn't dogpile, we didn't do anything, and I told our guys, I said, guys, it's okay. You're allowed. Don't let me and these goals that we have, like you need to enjoy these small moments along the way. So that's one message, right? And then the other message, like after we won to get ourselves into the finals where we had to be beat twice, I said, guys, I want you to enjoy this night, but realize that our work isn't done yet.
Yeah.
So you're constantly trying to feel this thing, but I don't want to get to a place where you have no joy ever. Like, you know what I mean?
It's
like,
hard, man.
Yeah, and that's kind of where we've become. We've gotten there in some ways where, as I sit here, you almost feel like it's a disappointment at times. You feel like you let a lot of people down. You feel like all these things. But then you have to go, wait a minute, like, we're one of, like, there's 400 Division III teams, and we're one of the, like you're in the top 4% or something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, anyways, I don't really have a good answer other than to say it's just hard. You ride that wave. But I like what Dustin said. I think that's like a finite game versus if it's just about the max day, then that's it. And the same thing with us. Even though our season ends, we really try to make a difference between a team and a program. So our team this year's over.
Yeah.
But the program goes on. So you have to figure out, okay, like now how can we learn from this lesson, right? If we played the defending national champs. They had 8 and 9 returning starters, so we got to see the best of the best. And then so for me now it becomes, as a coach, I have to reflect. I mean, I got beat up. I don't know. I needed to be better. So I learned some lessons, and hopefully our guys that are returning can go, oh, I need to look. A lot of it's physicality too. I need to look like that in order to play at this level. So you take all these things and you hope you make it into a learning opportunity when the time's right. Right now I'm not quite there yet, but it'll be there soon.
I appreciate the honesty, though, because I think there's so many coaches that can benefit from they're looking up to you, they're listening to you, and they're hearing you coming off something like that. And how does a guy like Mike evaluate it? You know what I mean? It's hard, man.
It switched yesterday. So yesterday I'll be completely transparent. I didn't want to get out of bed. I was like, it was hard. You want to kind of crawl into a hole. You're like, man, we put all this time, energy, effort into it, and not just me. Our coaches, everybody, my family. Like, our sons are on the same team. I've been to one game this year. So, anyways, you put all this time in, and then it ends, and you have like a depression, a morning. But then you get yourself showered, and you go in, and then by end of the day yesterday, I started thinking of the things that we can do better. Right, the growth won't be like this. We went my first year, the year I took over. They had won 13 games a year prior. We won 25 or 26. You get this big spike.
Yeah.
Now it's probably no different than
It's like the
fitness
first
and
time you
training.
hit the weight room, you get all these.
Now it's like we're so much better this year than we were last year, but you don't see it. You know what I mean? Like, does that make any sense to you guys? Like, you don't. It's not it doesn't pop like 13 to 25. That's you flip the whole script. Now it's like. It's like
incremental.
And hard as hell. Like and the next step is really hard as hell. Like to go from a top 15 program to a top 10 or 5 is like, it's just these really small edges.
Here's something I think, and I'm sure you probably touch on, but like them guys feeling what it's like to host a regional.
Oh yeah.
Those guys feeling what it's like to be. They know they were only 2 runs away. Like the edge, right? Or getting in a big match for the rest and feeling stronger, like Dustin's kids looking as strong or stronger than guys they used to maybe think were really tough. Like when you feel that, you're like, ooh, okay, I'm in the ballpark, literally.
I think it's knowing that you
belong.
Yes. Whereas maybe when you're younger or maybe you're at a different level of competition, you think that everyone is up here.
Yeah.
And then you get there and you realize, wait a minute. No, we just hosted a regional. We're right there. We're right there with the defending national champs. They're no different than us.
It's not that big of a difference,
right?
And one of my favorite things we have in our locker rooms is a sign that says "Standing on the shoulders of those before us," and it has all the names of people in the past. And I really believe that, like, each group shows you a little bit different. Like, and once you see it, like once until then, it's almost like a myth. It's like this monster in your head of what defending national champion would look like, or what hosting it. Now we've seen it, so now you go, oh, wait a minute, it's not. It's actually like right there, and now it's like, are you willing to do those small things that it's going to take? And those things aren't really easy. They're uncomfortable as hell to make those last few steps. I will say that. Like, it's uncomfortable for me too, because we'll have to probably get a little down and dirty as well. I mean, as far as some things that make me uncomfortable, but then you have to ask yourself, do I want it? Do I really want to be the best? Or, like, do I really, do I really want it, or is it cool to talk about it? So
Don't tweet about it, be about it.
That's right. That's right.
No, Treadway.
Yeah, so I take a little bit of a different approach than like what Dustin was saying. He said his guys were coming in and kind of like messing around, not really taking it serious. But that's how I approach it too, because I try not to get too serious. Because you always say the 5 Ps, proper preparation prevents poor performance. So I know if I put in the work, then it's going to come out. So if I have done everything I can, I prepared well, like the last powerlifting meet, I knew I did everything I could. So it came down to the day, and it was like, if I stress myself out, then it's going to have a negative effect towards me. In coaching, if I make these guys super stressed, then it's going to have a negative effect, because they have this like giant looking over their shoulder. And I need to instill confidence now. Sometimes it can bite you because you give them a little bit too freedom. You let them play a little bit too loose. We had a game this past weekend, and we were up 2-0 at halftime. And I was like, look, guys, we're playing well. Let's put a couple more in the back of the net. We need to start earning some points, and we lost 3-2. so that's where it came back to bite me a little bit. But, on the opposite side of that, at the powerlifting meet, I had a great day, hit PRs on 2 of the 3 lifts. And I just tried to go in a little bit loose because I knew that I put in the work. And that's what I talked to my team about this week was, hey, guys, it sucks that we lost, but we felt it. And now we know where that line is between, we're so stressed, we're so strict on ourselves, we can't have fun, and just, having a little bit too much freedom. So there's a fine line in there.
The have fun thing for me is like, so now I appreciate that. This is a little bit of therapy.
Yeah,
so
no, good.
So I don't mean to talk, but but anyways.
Well, it's a podcast. You should be talking.
Yeah. But the have fun thing, I blew up earlier in the year because we were getting beat, weren't playing well. I started having fun, and I lost it. And so the guys wanted to talk to me about it. And I took a couple of days, and I said, guys, here's why. Every bad team, when things are going bad, they start screaming, let's start having some fun. And to me, I said fun is playing good baseball.
Is winning.
Winning is fun.
It's playing hard. It's it's all like that's where the fun of this is. Like, I'm not interested in if I wanted to have fun, it'd be a club and intramural sport, or I'd go have
Little League.
have a beer with it. Like I would drink and have a good time. And no, this is what we do, right? So I just that
it's tough, man.
I think there's like this little continuum. On this end, like it's super serious where you're stiff. Over here, where it's jovial and you're not into it. And I think that's kind of the art of coaching, is trying to understand where on that continuum guys could be. So, and that's going to a lot of times be individual based too, because there's this one person who's like, oh, I want to get this weight, whatever, and that's probably too much. And there's this other guy over here who can't lock it in, and then you're always trying to figure out
kind of a sliding scale, and it kind of floats.
Of where are we? And I think that to me is the art of coaching, is trying to read that room, trying to feel the room, trying to see what they need from me as the leader and where I need to be. So I spent a lot of time like really taking that internal work and going, okay, first of all, am I nervous today? Like, am I tense? And if I'm tense, I'll even now name it. I'll say, guys, I don't know what it is today. I'm nervous as hell. So stay away from me. Don't let my energy come off on you. I'm not. And for whatever reason, when I name it like that, the guys go, all right, we got you, coach. Instead of being the coach who's like over there throwing a bucket for no reason because you're just, I don't know. I don't feel good. I just don't feel right today. So stay away from me. Don't feed off me, and then they'll sometimes pick you up with that.
Talk to me about assistant Rome. He looks like he's cool as a cucumber, or he plays it that way at least. Because he's calling pitches, things are going bad or good. He don't look like anything phases him. Because I'm watching, because now I know you guys, so I'm taking in more than just the baseball game. I'm watching mannerisms, the way things are operating, and trying to really like be a student while I'm there. And I just wonder, like, is his personality as your main like assistant really complimentary, or you got know what I'm saying?
Yeah, he's much cooler than I am. Like he's more just a relaxed, like this is gonna work out type guy, and he's and honestly on game day he's dialed in because he's calling
Yeah,
he's
calling
pushing the
pitches.
buttons,
Yeah.
right? So he's done a ton of work, and I think that's the other thing at the end of the season. Like you don't sleep a whole lot. I don't mean that in a way to get a pat on the back. You just you're kind of in it, so you have to find these moments where you're just completely dialed in. So he's up watching film all night, trying to figure out how we're going to pitch the guys. He's reading swings. So there's this, like, whatever's going on around you. Like, yeah, the fans are into the score and what happened, but he's on to, like, this next pitch and what I need to do to help win this pitch. So, but yeah, he's a cool guy. He's very complimentary to me, who's a little more edgy, a little more nervous, more tight than he is.
Yeah, it's cool. Treadway, in the soccer game, give us some things of when, like, okay, you lost 3-2 because you maybe thought you were too loose. Did you address that right after, or what was your kind of talk at the end of the game?
Yeah, so I messed up really big, and so we have this formation that we were running. I told the guys, like, this is how we're gonna run it. I want you guys to play free. I mean, they're like 17 to 24, 25. They all have college experience or will be going to college to play or previously played college soccer. And I'm like, look, guys, I trust you. You guys are all very fundamentally sound. Like, you know what's supposed to do. This is the formation we're going to run. And we were up 2-0 half. They scored at the start of the second half when I switched the formation. And I said, hey, we're going to go to this because it's a little bit more defensive. And then they saw a switch in me where I was, like, calm, loose, whatever. You guys do what you want. This is your game. They sensed that when I switched it, shit hit the fan, and we just fell apart. Guys started arguing with each other that never really do that. Guys were playing super tense, and they were, like, making bad touches that they don't normally make. They were, making poor reads that they normally would just do whatever they want, and it would be, they'd find success in that, and then, they were just overthinking everything. And I think it was, a representation of how I treated the situation. I said, hey, we're going to change what we're doing, and it completely screwed up the flow of things, and we ended up losing 3-2.
D, what are you thinking over there?
No, I was actually still thinking about something Deegan said earlier.
Yeah.
You mentioned about how you want your guys to not, like, get into a place where they don't have any joy. You know what I mean? In any of these little things and any of these little victories. And kind of reminded me of a story from OSU years ago when Nathan Tomasello first came in. So he got
such a bad mofo.
Yeah, Nathan's one of the greatest ever in the history of Ohio State wrestling. Came in very decorated, top recruit, all that stuff. But he was also very quiet. He was kind of hard to get to know, and his life was nothing but wrestling and work. So he had a redshirt year, then his redshirt freshman year, he's in the lineup now. There's always expectations, and I can remember talking to Lou one time. I was like, Lou, man, like, I like Nathan. I was like, but I can't even get this kid to smile. What does it take to get this kid to crack a smile? And Lou looked at me and he said, there'll be no joy in Nathan's life except for winning. And just winning's not enough. He said he has to win the big ones, the Big Ten, the national tournament, the U.S. Open. He's like, that's the only way Nathan will find joy in his life. Now, sure enough, he won the national title and the Big Ten title as a freshman. And I really think when he won that national title, it was the first time I seen him smile in 2 years.
Yeah, I believe that.
I got a picture of me and him on the floor holding his bracket, and he got a big smile on his face.
I was just say, do you think he found joy? Other than
Yeah,
that smile?
So I think as the years went on, as he got later into his college career, he started, trying to find other things in his life besides training, besides wrestling, besides competing. And it helped him open up and make, kind of find some friendships and stuff. And, him and I became great friends in the weight room as well. But it took him a while because I think he was just kind of programmed to, like, nothing was ever good enough unless he was winning, and he was winning big and winning in the really important events. And I think that's a tough way for someone to live because they put so much pressure on themselves.
It is, and
But he also is that craziness what got him there.
Yeah, it's a fine line, right? I mean, would he have been a 4-time Big Ten champion, 4-time All-American if he wasn't already programmed that way? Probably not.
I became a Nathan Tomasello fan, not knowing much about wrestling when Dust started, just because I could feel it on him.
Yeah,
like you couldn't deny it. So it drew me towards it because I'm like, there's an edge about this kid that
he's wired differently.
He is built. When they say built different, that year Nate Tomasello's built different.
Oh yeah.
So there was I heard Luke Walton, the former Lakers coach, playing the NBA on a podcast, and he was talking. They were asking about Kobe, and he said that he told this story. He said he came in early to do some rehab. Luke Walton did, and he said Kobe came in like 15 minutes later. He's like, Kobe, what's going on, man? You sleeping in today? He said Kobe turned around to him like a killer. He said, yeah, if you want to call the fact that I shot for an hour and a half prior, then I lifted weights, and now I'm walking in here hour and 45 minutes later, then I guess I'm taking one off today. He was like, this was like 8 in the morning, like it was like a kind of a hey, you take, you know, kind of a passing comment.
But he ain't. Yeah.
No, he's not normal. So where I was going with this when I wanted to ask you, so then the question was, would you want your son to be like Kobe? And I would ask you, D, would you want your son to be like Nick? You know what I mean? Nathan, sorry. Would you want him?
I'm going to say no. 'Cause, you know, I want my kid to excel in sports, you know, but I want him to enjoy it, and I want him to enjoy life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think that, you know, it's going to be, you know, obviously Kobe was wired for greatness. He was different. You
He's
know what I
built
mean?
the same way Nathan was for that 1 year for probably 20.
Correct.
Yeah.
But I'll give you another example. You know, I can remember us having a conversation kind of comparing Nate to Logan Stieber, who is the greatest Buckeye of all time. He won 4 national titles. He's one of the only wrestlers to ever do it. And I can remember Thatcher saying the difference between those two is that Logan still had a life outside of wrestling. He still went out with his buddies on the weekend in the off season. He still had a girlfriend. He still did these other things. You know, in the summertime, they'd go to the lake and ride jet skis and, you know, different, you know, Colin Moore, he plays the guitar. He has, you have to have other things in your life.
Yeah.
So what I want, you know, would the trade-off be like, can Jack be this incredible champion, but he has to like live this like super structured life? I don't think I'd want that for him.
I think it comes back to what Peters talks about with the great violence and the great peace.
Yeah.
Is that if you can switch them both, it's a hard thing to do. But that's why, like, when I would have some of the other like little league coaches like come over and be like, "Man, I saw that stuff this morning. Like, it's almost like you're like a different guy." I'm like, "Well, I'm not going to be the same squat guy sitting here at my kid's baseball game." But it's like, you know what I mean? But that's to me, that's what he's saying, but he don't know he's saying.
Right.
You're like a low key, peaceful dude here. You're not. I don't even get riled up at the games. I was probably yelling for your son more than I was yelling for my son. You know what I mean? And like, but I want. Well, first off, because I'm kind of maniac, I want people to know it's in there.
Right.
I like that. I'm not going to front because I want to know that, you know, they see D hit the bag and the things he can do. They know it's in there. You see me get up under these weights, you know it's in there. Like, I'm not, that's part of me. So it's like, I think, but I don't want to be, that's why I'm trying to find more of that in my life too as I get older. Like, look, if I'm not quite as tight this summer, I think I'm going to be all right. I want to drink more pints of beer. You know what I mean? Like, I'm trying to find that, but it is because it's a sliding scale.
It is. Yeah.
But how can you be great if you're not dialed?
I know. Yeah. I mean, that's how, you know, as I sit here now after just getting beat on Monday, we finished the year and you know, you run all those emotions of is this good enough? Like, you know, do you start going to all the ways you need to be in the 1%? Like there's just you're always kind of there. And I think the day that it seems so silly, I'm talking about grieving. It's a baseball season, right?
Yeah.
But the day that ends, I probably won't want to do this anymore.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree with that.
The day that it's not
not important anymore.
Hey, fellas, no, I'm sitting here fine today.
See you next week.
Yeah. I don't know if I want to do it anymore.
Yeah.
So it's there's a fine line there, right? But
well, that's why I'm listening to the Tuesdays with Maury. I try to find material like that from time to time because it's just life perspective. Has nothing to do with business, nothing to do with trying. Like it's like just life stuff. And I think having in my personal development that I do, I try to get. I'll be business and maniac and David Goggins and all that, and then I'll halt it and go. You know, this is just balance type stuff. Like when Dustin talks about building basically his retreat center at his damn house, that's the balance to life stuff. You know what I mean? Talk about that real quick, D. I think it's sweet.
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously I love, you know, kind of the maniac side of training. I love running sprints. I love hitting the bag. I love doing all this. I always talk about the suffering I love doing, but I also love relaxing too. I love doing things that feel good for my soul, not just for my body, right? I've always loved yoga. I loved hiking, meditation, all those things. So, you know, it was one of those things that when we built our house, when I found the property, I kind of had a vision for it. I said, you know what, I want to be able to, first I didn't know that there was going to be a sauna and an ice bath out there.
Yeah.
But at the very least, I was like, you know what, on the edge of this ravine, I'm going to build a platform so I can do yoga here and watch the sunrise. You know, I want to be able to do those things that I do on vacation. You know, normally I get to do a couple times a year. I'm like, why can't I just do this, you know, on a daily or weekly basis here at my home? You know, so I built this, you know, it's a platform on the edge of the ravine. We have the big, you know, I got my Redwood Outdoors sauna. The Cedar sauna is wood fired right there. So it's like a, you know, thing. I got up today at, you know, 4:45, made my coffee, you know, went out when it's still dark, went out, you know, made the fire. So I'm out there, you know, all I can hear is the birds chirping, can't really see yet. I'm making the fire in the wood burner because that's a preheat, you know, getting the ice ready and stuff. And so that right there is kind of like the beginning of the meditation, or just kind of like the habit of it, you know. And then I have a few friends that come over, they show up. One of my, you know, good friends from college, me and Corey's good friend who, you know, been friends with for 20 plus years. He drove down from Mount Vernon today.
Yeah.
You know, so 6 o'clock, Juice pulls in.
So good.
Yeah. So we get everything ready. We get out there, we do our yoga. And that was the start to the day, you know, doing the fire and ice, and ended that with some coffee and some kind of fellowship around the table on the porch. You know, so I think just, you know, and then I'll balance that with something really hard that I'm going to do in the gym today that's going to feel very strenuous and very uncomfortable, you know. So I think the more that you can kind of, you know, even just really, if you look at what we did this morning, we got in ice water, then we got in a sauna that was 220 degrees. So you have this contrast between hot and cold. So I think maybe even if you just look at your life, you need to have this balance or this contrast. You work really hard, but you need to enjoy time with your family. You need to go to the pub on Friday evenings with Rachel and have a couple pints or whatever. You know, I think having that hot and cold, you know,
Literally.
the suffering and the relaxation, you know, if you can find those, you know, it kind of helps balance your life out.
Has this evolved? Would you have been able to do this 10 years ago?
I may have wanted it 10 years ago.
Did you know it? You know what I'm saying? Like,
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. I think I always, you know, had a vision for what I wanted in my life. I just didn't know if it was possible, I guess, you know.
You're getting closer to that now.
Yeah,
huh?
maybe my idea then was like, hey, I need to be able to take more vacations
Yeah.
so I can do this stuff. Now it's like,
You're
you know,
making vacation here almost
yeah,
now,
yeah.
right? Like,
I can vacation in
Just
my house.
part of your life.
It's part of my life. Yeah.
It's pretty awesome.
Sweet.
The
It's like having a pub in your basement.
Yeah,
you can
exactly.
Go to,
yeah,
you go to the pub
Get
downstairs.
us on tap, kid.
Love
It's
it.
real good. How can we wrap this up for young coaches listening? Treadway, what's like some of the things you grab from hearing all this?
Yeah, so you were kind of talking about it, and it reminds me of what Brian Peters said on the podcast a while ago. You have to be able to put on different masks. And Lil Wayne has this.
Oh, yeah, bring it out.
and it runs through
Shout
my
out
mind.
Wayne. Shout out Wayne.
Shout out Wheezy. It runs through my head all the time. It's I ain't a killer, but don't push me.
Yeah.
And it's like I come in the gym and I'm all happy-go-lucky, whatever. I always try to crack jokes, like because people are so serious, and I'm like, yo, let's just have fun. Like we're lifting weights. Like this isn't that.
But
like,
then when he beats you, he talks shit to you though.
But then someone will start chirping. I'm like, okay, well, I'm just gonna smoke you. And then so like my big thing is finding the trigger points that can help you, because Jake Holland knows how to hit my trigger points. He'll notice that I'm a little too relaxed, and then he'll start to chirp me a little bit, and then it's like, okay, well, I'm gonna find this gear,
Love
and then it's over. So finding those things, because nobody wants to be that grumpy power lifter or angry coach that's walking around all the time. So we all know the guys that are so upset all the time because they're all so focused on something. But at the end of the day, like, you have to enjoy what you're doing. And I'm not going to say fun again because Deegan's going to yell at me. But you have to find joy, because it's all part of life, and we're all playing a game. You have to, look at it from a 10,000-foot view. It's just perspective. Like, we're just lifting weights.
Yeah.
There's more, there's business implications, things like that. But, we're just coaching sports. It's just, part of life. You just have to find joy and know when to trigger that anger, that killer.
Yeah. Lastly, shameless plug. I got to go speak at Deegan's for my book promotion. So first off, it was awesome because it was reps. And I talked about this with the podcast with all you guys, just getting reps. So Deegan gave me a chance to get a rep. So I'd love to hear if you got any feedback from the guys or any of that stuff.
I didn't ask directly, but what was fun is, and I think this is when you have people, is that some of the words, the phrases were coming up in different ways, like pack a lunch,
Yeah.
And,
I love that.
Yeah, so I think that was probably the coolest thing, is that guys were taking a message, and like as I'm walking away, I would hear those things.
Hell
you know what I
yeah.
mean? So that's
the compliment.
That's
then.
the sticking point, right? And it's no different than I always say, like in our press conferences, whenever the guys beside me are echoing things that we've talked about all year. And so there was a lot of big takeaways. I think a lot of that really resonated as far as, hey, like what, the why not us? That I heard that quite a bit. So there was definitely a feel and a vibe that really impacted our guys.
Yeah, I told Coach, I gave him all a book, and I said I wanted to give him a book, talk to him about 5 questions I ask myself all the time, and tell him one really good story.
Yeah.
And so I try to give him up front, like, hey, I'm not going to take a bunch of time. But it was pretty cool, and there's some great questions. So thanks again for that, Coach.
Appreciate it. Yeah, it was great.
Well, I say Coach's Clinic Podcast brought to you by MaxFitForMuscle.com. Treadway, talk about NSF real quick.
Yeah, so if you were a college coach, pro athlete, college athlete, we now have the NSF stamp on our Amino Recovery Lemonade flavor.
Yes, sir.
Tri-blend protein coming soon. But basically what they do is they take it, they look at 400 ingredients that will make you test positive. We make sure that there's none of that in there. They also take a look at the label, match it up with what we say is in there, and make sure that we're exactly spot on so that you know exactly what you're taking, no proprietary blends, everything. You can take our product with full confidence.
Hell yeah. All right. We are out. Coach's Clinic. Share it. Talk to your friends about it. Let everybody know this is one really awesome podcast. I'm your boy, Corey G, Mike Deegan, Tyler Treadway, Dustin Myers. We are out.